Are you prepared for some thrilling forecasts regarding Tesla's first quarter 2023 earnings? Tesla built over 440,000 vehicles and delivered about 423,000 vehicles, beating forecasts. The question is whether they will surpass projections in Q1 earnings. This video aims to forecast Tesla's stock price by examining its prediction chart, estimating its sales, earnings, and net income, and debating the implications for the company's stock price. So grab a seat, press the like button, and let's get going. In the first quarter of 2023, Tesla delivered about 423,000 units, exceeding forecasts. Even if this is 10,000 fewer vehicles than anticipated, it's still a remarkable accomplishment because they have only constructed 140,000 vehicles, 000 more than the previous quarter. But this is only because the Model 3 was out of commission for 2 weeks. If not, production levels would have been around 470,000, an incredible achievement. Here is the Tesla stock price prediction chart for each quarter. The first row shows vehicle deliveries, and the second row is dedicated to FSD alone, with a one-time payment of $15,000 for every quarter by the end of this year. Depending on supply and demand, they'll probably increase it to $17,000. I put a conversion rate of 15, meaning that 15 Tesla buyers will choose to pay the one-time fee for FSD. Now, the question is whether Tesla will beat expectations in Q1 earnings, which we'll predict in this video. The average selling price of each vehicle in Q1 is $50,000. This increases to $49,000 in Q2, $50,000 in Q3, and $50,000 in Q4 due to the Cybertruck, which will cost upwards of $50,000 per vehicle. The FSD profit margin for all quarters is 4 to 5%. The predicted credits for the first quarter are $400 million, with successive quarters expected to see credits of $350 million, $300 million, and $250 million. Profits and operating margins per vehicle are also taken into consideration. In addition, I've included energy since it's starting to affect stock prices. In 2022, energy will generate nearly $4 billion in revenue and nearly $300 million in profits. In Q1, I predict that energy will generate about $1.55 billion in revenue, which will rise by $200 million annually through the end of Q4 to reach $2.2 billion. The projected earnings for each of the 4 quarters are $12 to the 350, 375, and 375 FX exchange expense. I would like to add that, switching from yuan to USD using an acceptable PE, we can determine the correct stock price for the forthcoming quarters. Since dollars are rather expensive, this will add to the current quarter and the last 3 quarters, giving us an entire fiscal year. The share standing is being diluted by 1% annually, 4% annually, and 1% quarterly, which is something that should be mentioned. Now let's forecast Q1 earnings and revenue. If you're ready, click the like button so that we can add the 423,000 vehicle deliveries to Q1 to receive an estimate of revenue. Over $21 billion in car revenue overall, with an operating margin of 14%. If we combine energy revenue, FSD revenue, and their profits, Tesla's total revenue for the first quarter of 2023 will almost certainly approach $24 billion. The net income is $3.6 billion, and we can hold on to this EPS figure. The quarterly EPS is expected to be 1.13, despite the street's prediction of 85 cents. I put it at 14 and Q2 at 13.5 because they recently announced more cuts, and even with the price reductions, the profit margin will still be higher than 9.7%, which is a positive sign even in this strange economy where we're in recession. I don't understand where they're getting 85 cents from. So even if we reduce the operating margin to 10, it's still not 85 cents. As Q1 comes to an end, Tesla is still doing phenomenally. It's time to start planning for Q2, but my expectations are a little conservative. In my estimation, Tesla will deliver 444,000 vehicles at a 13% margin, generating nearly $25 billion in revenue. However, because of the decreased operating margins, net income will be less than $3.6 billion, resulting in an EPS of 1.12 cents for the quarter and an EPS of 4.40 for the previous 3 quarters. As for Q3, I'm estimating that Tesla will deliver 465,000 vehicles, though I'm leaning more toward 480,000. This will generate over $26.5 billion in revenue and a net income of little over $3.8 billion. The quarterly EPS is expected to be 17 cents, while the cumulative EPS for the year thus far is anticipated to be 4.52 cents. Going forward, I believe that Tesla will deliver an astounding 490,000 vehicles in Q4, but I want to be cautious and careful. This will result in revenue of about $28.6 billion and a net income of more than $4.5 billion. Although this isn't the biggest gain in earnings, with only a 16 to 18 increase year-over-year growth in terms of vehicles delivered is currently about 39%, the EPS for the quarter will be 1.26 and the EPS for the year will be 4.62. Let's talk about what this means for the price of Tesla stock. Currently, it is trading between $180 and $190 per share, but it could drop due to recent price cuts and market panic. However, assuming a P/E ratio of 50 for Q1, we could see a stock price of $201 per share. If they miss EPS expectations and the P/E drops to 45 or even 40, we could see a stock price of $161 or $121 per share respectively. If things go bearish and the P/E drops to 30, the stock price could go as low as $101 per share. On the other hand, if Tesla surprises the market with an EPS of 1.13, we could see the P/E rise back to up to 55 or even 60, although it's unlikely to go much higher. Overall suggests that bad news is on the way. The stock may fall to $45 or $40, frightening investors, as it appears that Tesla did not meet its Q1 earnings targets. However, if we examine the P/E ratios, we can find that it increased to 176 in Q2 from approximately 161 in Q1. This improvement indicates that the business is fundamentally sound, and the stock is expected to continue to rise. For Q2, I'm going to keep the P/E at 50, which translates to an average stock price of $226 per share. Moving on to Q3, if you want to get bullish, you may anticipate up of 60 and a stock price of $271. I think the stock price will continue to rise, and I'll give it a PEF 50, which should result in an average stock price of $226 per share. However, if you're a bear, you should anticipate a P/E of 40 or perhaps 45, which would mean that the company would be worth about $180 per share when Q4 earnings are released between January 21 and April 20, 2024. While these predictions are not guarantees, I believe they represent realistic price ranges for the end of 2023. I believe we will be in a bull market, and that the stock price could reach a P/E of 60, resulting in a stock price of $277 per share. However, to be safe, I'll give it a P/E of 50, resulting in an average stock price of $231 per share. To diversify my investments, I personally plan to purchase additional shares if the stock price falls below 200, but I will cease purchasing altogether if it rises beyond 300. I think it's important to diversify your investments, and since I'm saving for a house, I don't think I can have everything in one basket. However, the current decline in Tesla stock prices presents a potential opportunity. I'm not able to forecast what happens in the short term, but I think that in 5 or 10 years, the price of Tesla stock will continue to climb. Looking back, I could regret not purchasing more shares while the price was still below the $1 trillion mark. But this is just my opinion, and I could be wrong. The stock may decline further or not rise at all, but I still believe in Elon Musk and the Tesla team because they are committed to accelerating the global switch to sustainable energy. For instance, they intend to build a gigafactory in Mexico for their new compact car, which will propel them to the next level. After that, they'll build similar factories in other parts of the world, which will eventually result in more vehicle deliveries globally than even Toyota. Of course, buying Tesla stock might not be the ideal choice if you need the money in the next year or two. We would appreciate it if you could leave us a big like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video. The stock is volatile and can swing back and forth like a flipping elephant trunk. It's important to conduct your own research and take all the investment advice with a grain of salt.